$795 a month. That's VA disability for one ankle or leg that healed crooked after a fracture and left the nerve dragging your foot when you walk. And the strange part nobody warns you about, the break itself healed years ago. So here's the thing I want you to hold on to. There is a second residual, a nerve injury most veterans never file, that stacks right on top of the bone rating and can be worth more than the fracture itself. We'll cash that in, exactly, before this is over.
This is Erica, and the word that runs all of it is motion. The VA doesn't pay you for the word fracture. Hip, ankle, femur, shin, it rates how far the joint still bends after everything healed. The measurement is the money.
Michael here. Look at it the way I look at a motorcycle on the bench. A bone that got put back together even a little out of line never runs right again. The VA calls that malunion, and a leg that lost motion still gets a rating, healed or not.
Hi, I'm Caroline, and read this part slowly. Your joint can look fine on a scan and still pay you. The clause says an actually painful joint from a healed injury earns at least the minimum rating, that's 10%, for pain alone, before you ever argue about degrees.
And the real money is in the residuals that stack. A healed fracture can leave 3 separate ratable things: lost motion, a damaged nerve, and arthritis in the joint that took the hit. File 1, miss 2, and you leave hundreds a month on the table.
Which is exactly why we're walking every bone today. The hip, the femur, the ankle, the tibia and fibula, and the nerve that causes foot drop. Today we go one code deeper than a rating letter ever explains.
And every number is straight out of the VA's rating schedule, the official rulebook. Nothing here is opinion. It's the schedule, and we name the codes.
One more thing before we dig in. Everything we cover, the full conditions list, and free tools to check your own rating, live at va.professorerica.com. That site exists to save you a phone call.
Before Emma hands it off, one question shows up under every single one of these videos, and Caroline pulled it from the comments. Caroline.
Here it is, word for word. If my ankle fracture healed and I can still walk, is there really anything to rate? And the honest answer is yes, more often than you'd think. Walking is not the test. Lost motion, pain, and a damaged nerve are.
That's the whole game. Healed is not the same as whole. So let's start where every one of these ratings is actually decided. Not in an office, in one appointment with a small metal protractor. Before any code pays $1, one exam turns your leg into a number, the compensation and pension exam. Get it wrong and a real injury reads as nothing. So let's actually walk what happens in that room, together. Erica, start us at the door.
The examiner brings a goniometer. It's a hinged protractor for joints. They ask you to bend the hip, flex the ankle, and they read the angle in degrees. That angle, not your diagnosis, is what the rating schedule turns into a percentage.
So the whole rating rides on one measurement taken on one morning.
It does, and that's the trap. Think of the exam as a snapshot on your best behavior, not a highlight reel of your worst week. If you show up on a good day and push through the pain, the snapshot lies in the VA's favor.
Hold it there, because that sounds like coaching people to exaggerate. Erica, source it. Where does the rule actually say the bad day counts?
2 places, and I'll quote the record. 38 CFR 4.59 says a joint that is actually painful from a healed injury earns at least the minimum rating. And 4.40 says, quote, a part which becomes painful on use must be regarded as seriously disabled.
So pain isn't a footnote, it's in the regulation.
It's the backbone of it. The courts built the DeLuca standard on those sections. The examiner has to account for pain, weakness, fatigue, and flare-ups, not just the clean number in the calm office.
Then let me pin you to a specific. Caroline, you keep a spreadsheet on everything. What does a veteran actually bring to make the bad day real, instead of just saying it hurts?
Records, Same instinct my family runs at home, where we file every warranty we've ever owned, a pain journal with dates, a photo of the swelling, a note from the day you couldn't climb the stairs. The clause protects you, but only if the file proves the flare.
Say that part louder for the folks who show up trying to look tough.
The morning you can't tie your boots. The day after yard work when the ankle locks. Here's the ruling in one line. The rater scores what you show that day, so show the worst of it, honestly. That's not gaming it. That's the true picture.
So where this lands is simple, and it's the through line for the rest of the video. The exam is a measurement. The measurement is the money, and your job is to make sure the measurement tells the truth about a bad day, not a lucky one. Next, we turn those degrees into real codes, bone by bone.
Five parts of the leg, 5 hiding places. File under the wrong code, you get the wrong check. Run them in order.
Start at the hip. Diagnostic code 5250, a frozen hip. Favorable is 60%. Unfavorable is 90%. And a flail hip, code 5254, is 80%.
And if it's not frozen, just stiff?
Then it's degrees. Limited flexion. Code 5252 pays 10, 20, 30, up to 40% as the hip bends less.
Next bone, the femur. Diagnostic code 5255, a thigh bone that never knit back together, a false joint with loose motion, rates 80%. That's the highest number on this whole board.
Careful though, one update people miss. The old Mellunian scale is gone. Since 2021, a crooked but healed femur or shin is rated under the knee or ankle motion codes instead. Cite the old rule and a rater bounces it.
Ankle next. Take code 5270 for a frozen ankle, 20, 30, 40%. 5271, lost motion, 10 or 20.
And the shin, tibia and fibula, code 5262. A break that never healed, loose enough you need a brace, is 40% on its own.
Wait, that's the one I promised up top, isn't it?
It's the setup for it. Here's the residual I held back. When a leg fracture damages the peroneal nerve, your foot drops, you can't lift the front of it. That's a separate code, 8521, and it stacks on the bone rating.
How much is the nerve worth by itself?
10% mild, 20 moderate, 30 severe, 40 for complete foot drop, a whole second rating from the same injury.
Let's make the stack real in dollars, because this is where underfiling gets expensive. Say an ankle rates 20% for lost motion, and the foot drop is severe. The ankle alone is 20%, $356.66 a month in 2026.
Now add the nerve. 20% and 30% don't just add. The VA runs them through its combined ratings table, and here that math lands at 40%, $795.84.
So the stack, the nerve most people never file, is worth $439.18 more every single month on the same leg.
That's more than $5,000 a year for a residual that's already in the injury. Underfiling isn't neutral. It's a pay cut.
Which raises the fair question the panel has to answer honestly. Here it is, plainly. Is chasing every extra residual really worth the paperwork, or should you only file the big one?
Michael, take that one because you'll be blunt about it.
Short version. The nerve residual is worth over $5,000 a year, and it's already in your medical file. That one, always. We'll draw the harder line on the little residuals in a minute. But the map's done. Next, how you connect any of it to your service.
A rating is worth nothing until it's tied to your service. There are 2 ways to do that, and the second one is where the money hides.
Door 1 is direct. The jump that shattered the ankle, the vehicle rollover, the ruck march that stress fractured the tibia. If it's in your service record, log in and point the rater straight at it.
And door 2 is the one veterans leave on the table. The secondary claim.
Remember the snapshot idea from the exam? Same instinct here, but across your whole body. A bad leg changes how you walk, and that altered gait quietly wears down the good knee, the hip, the lower back. 38 CFR 3.310 pulls those in as service-connected too.
So one service-connected ankle can seed a knee claim, a hip claim, a back claim.
I want to hand this to someone who lives inside these claim files all day. Let me dial her in.
Thanks for the call. You already put your finger on the tricky part, that secondary door. On a leg case, I look for three things: the current residual diagnosed, the in-service injury sitting in the record, and one clean sentence from a clinician tying the two together, at least as likely as not. And it all lands on one form, the 21-526EZ, the disability compensation application. Your legal name exactly as it reads on your DD-214, your social security number, your VA file number. Then list each residual on its own line, the ankle, the foot drop, the arthritis, separately.
Back pay. How far back does it actually reach?
Generally the day the VA stamps your claim received. That rule lives in 38 CFR 3.400. Whichever falls later, the day your claim landed or the day the disability actually began, becomes your date. So file the day you're ready, not the day the leg feels perfect. Waiting only costs you back pay.
One correction while you're on, because a number matters here. Earlier, we said the foot drop nerve tops out at 50%. It doesn't. Complete is 40.
Good catch, and you're right. Complete paralysis of that peroneal nerve, full foot drop, is 40% under 85/21, not 50. Get that number wrong on the form and you invite a fight you don't need.
And file the initial claim on the 526EZ, not the 995. Wait. Let me be precise about that, because I mix them up. The 995 is the supplemental for new evidence after a decision. The 526EZ is the one that opens the claim.
Exactly right. Read your own medical records before you file. If a doctor already wrote reduced range of motion or foot drop, half your claim is already built, you just haven't sent it. That's my parting shot. Thanks for having me on.
That's the part no pamphlet ever hands you. Thanks for making the time. So we know the codes and how to connect them. Last stop, the honest strategy, what to actually file and what to let go. So here's the honest fork we owe you before you file anything. Michael thinks you claim every documented residual, every time. Caroline thinks your afternoon is worth something too, and a marginal 10% can cost more than it pays. Michael, make the case.
Let me walk you through why the stack wins one ankle end to end. The motion itself climbs a fixed ladder, 10% for moderate lost motion, 20 for marked, 30 when the joint fuses near neutral, 40 when it fuses in a bad position. That's the spine. Then the painful motion rule guarantees at least 10 even if the degrees look mild. Then the foot drop nerve adds its own rating up to 40. Then arthritis in that joint adds 10 to 20 more. 4 separate ratings, 1 injury. Skip 3 and you didn't save time, you gave the VA a discount.
Wrong to file all of it blind though. The nerve, the arthritis, the painful motion floor, those are documented and worth real money. File them. But a borderline 10% on a joint that barely lost motion can mean an exam, records requests, months of waiting for a maybe. Weigh that one.
Caroline, put a line on it. When exactly do you walk away from a residual?
When it isn't in the file yet and it's small. If a doctor already wrote it down, always file. If you'd be building it from scratch for one borderline rung, get the opinion first, then decide.
That's fair, and I'll give you that. The alignment being off is the whole point, same as the bike on my bench. But if it's already documented, always run it. We agree on 90% of this.
So here's the ruling, and the record backs it. Both things are true. The stack is the strategy, so file every residual that's already documented. The motion, the nerve, the arthritis, and the painful motion floor. And when a residual is borderline and not yet in your file, get the opinion before you spend the months. File the documented, weigh the borderline, and let a clean, fully healed break with zero lasting damage go.
That's a verdict you can act on tonight. The break healed. The rating lives in what it left behind, and the leftovers stack. Let's bring it home. Here's the map in one line. A leg fracture heals, but the lost motion, the damaged nerve, and the arthritis it leaves are what the VA actually pays for. Range of motion sets the base, and the residuals stack on top.
The piece I'd hold on to is the painful motion rule. A joint that hurts from a healed injury earns at least 10%, even when the degrees look fine on paper.
Mine's the number. The foot drop nerve, the one most people skip, was worth $439 a month more on that one ankle. Over $5,000 a year already sitting in the injury.
And mine's the trap. The old Mayunian scale is dead. Since 2021, a crooked but healed femur or shin rates under the knee and ankle motion codes, so don't quote a rule that expired.
So here's your move tonight. Pull your own medical records and hunt for 3 phrases: reduced range of motion, foot drop, and arthritis. If a doctor already wrote any of them, that residual is a claim you just haven't filed. And do me one favor, subscribe so you catch the next condition before you file, and drop a like because it puts this in front of the next underrated veteran. Next time we stay on the conditions list, and here's the hook. There's a way a knee injury can raise your rating on a leg you never hurt in service. Wait until you see how that one works. And before you go, one for the comments. Did the VA ever rate your fracture but skip the nerve or the arthritis that came with it? Tell us below. Vocabulary is where confidence begins. Sharpen yours. Take care.
That was an A-, Emma. The minus is just because I cannot help myself. This is Professor Erica. Thanks for watching and signing off.